right, welcome back to the Countdown Fan Podcast, where we are always counting down to MLB Opening Day 2025, and we are doing it with new fans every single episode. And today, we're talking about the Milwaukee Brewers, so I had to bring on two Brewers diehards. So Countdown fans, welcome Cal Dobby and Jacob Zielinski. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. How are you both doing today? Cal,
Doing well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, living the dream. Thank you for having us.
Awesome. Well, this was a very special episode to me because the Brewers mean a lot to me. Fans of the Countdown will know that I am a Dodger fan, but I got my Brew Crew shirt on right here because I was fortunate enough to be able to go out to Milwaukee for a summer and, help out the team through their internship program. And it was an awesome summer. It was where I was able to meet Cal, both playing for the Blue Sox. Pretty fun summer on the field
Great
as well.
summer.
So, yeah, it was a great time. And now we're talking Brewers because it's the off-season time. But to start it off, like we always do on this podcast, guys, this is the fan podcast. We got to test your fandom a little bit. But first, just give me a little bit of a background on how you guys became Brewers fans. Jacob, we can start with you.
I'm a Brewers fan, diehard. I lived in Milwaukee all my life. My dad actually used to do the ushering at Miller Park, now AmFam Field. So I got to do just going to the games all the time, and it was something I always loved doing growing up. And baseball's just been my number one sport that I love so much. So
yeah, piggybacking off what Jacob said, baseball has always been my number one. I was kind of born into it. My parents' first day actually was at a Brewers game for opening day, so Brewers might be part of the reason why I'm even alive to this day. But, I live 5 to 10 minutes from the stadium, so growing up, taking my bike to games as often as possible in the summer, just if I have an open night, just snag a cheap ticket and get down to the ballpark and see them as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a luxury, man. Being that close to a baseball stadium, man. I love the AmFam vibe too. I was able to stop by on my road trip back from Tennessee too, and really sit in the parking lot for the first time before the game because obviously as an employee you didn't get to do that. And to see the tailgaters, man, it was such a different atmosphere, and it was awesome to be able to do that for the first time. So jealous for sure. Glad.
Yeah, they're absolutely diehards that love the tailgate scene, and they'll do that every single game too. And it's just a part of the Brewer baseball culture. It's just going out there and firing up the grill, having a couple brews with people, and just going there and exciting watching the Brewers.
I know. I should have thought about this morehand before, but what other team in sports just openly advocates for beer like the Brewers? Come on, it's just so perfect. It's the tailgate's all wrapped in. But guys, I had a few quick hitters for you. There's some rapid fire icebreakers I wanted to start off with because not a lot of people I feel like know maybe the ins and outs of the Brewers. I feel like to the outside, this franchise might be a little bit of a mystery. The NL Central, not a lot of media coverage, especially in Milwaukee, a small market. So I'm just going to ask you a few little niche questions that you guys, like you said, since being so close to the stadium, a lot of background in Milwaukee, I think you should have some interesting answers to these questions. So sent a few over to you guys beforehand, but are we ready to kind of throw these out quickly? What do we say?
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'll ask the question, and then Jacob, I'll let you give your answer first, and then Cal, you can follow him up right afterwards, and then I'll hit you both with the next question. Sound good?
Perfect.
Beautiful. Question number 1 of the quick hitters. Best ballpark food at American Family Field?
For me, it's the nachos. I think that's the best bang for your buck at the stadium. It's the nachos or the sausages. But I'm leaning nachos for now. Cal, what you got?
Outside of the classic bratwurst, you got to go up to the Loge level, 200s, right field corner. They got the new 3rd Street Market up there.
Oh,
those tacos up there.
Oh,
excellent,
yes, Cal.
excellent.
See, I've gone for the crab ragoons. That's the one that's the ones I've been going for mostly if I go into that area.
I love that you broke it down. You told the people where to find it.
You can tell I frequent that stand a lot.
That's awesome. For me, it's going to have to be the honey roasted nuts, especially.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
But dude, if you're walking in at home plate, it's the first thing you smell on game day.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable. But next question, we're coming at you fast. Most underrated brewer of all time. Who do you got, Jake?
Oh, underrated brewer of all time. I think T Plush. I really do love T Plush. Niger Morgan, if you're not a custom for the average fan, he really brought the life when he was wearing a Brewers uniform, and it definitely brought the vibe of just how the city reacts to Brewers baseball. So I feel like for him, he was a big part of the Brewers history.
What are we thinking, Cal?
Part of me wants to give a not serious answer, but most underrated. It's a really tough question.
I think it's
I mean-
an underrated franchise. It's kind of tough. There's a lot.
That's
It is tough.
yeah.
I mean, the Brewers have been decent for like most of my life at this point. There's been some good contributors on each team.
Cal, I feel like the guy right over your right shoulder needs a little bit of love
CC?
too. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I Hall
Absolutely.
of Famer. He does not get the credit he really deserves for what he did
In half
in
the
Milwaukee. Oh yeah, he pretty much put together a Cy Young season in half a year in Milwaukee and willed them to the playoffs in 08.
And he will never pay for another meal in Milwaukee ever again because of that half year.
Well, there's going to be some crazy highlights going up while you guys are talking about all that I'm going to edit in afterwards because those are some crazy
Sweet.
ones you threw out there. I wasn't sure where you guys were going to, like, I had a whole list, or this article, just a bunch of names that people have thrown out over the years of most underrated brewer. You can make it.
What are some of the names on that list? I'm curious now.
Oh, some of them are BS, like Mike Moustakis.
I don't know about that. He was a big part of 18.
Peralta. I really liked the part on Freddie Peralta, which I mean, they were going with more current guys.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Fair enough, but I mean, there's so many players, and my favorite one that I associate with from the Brewers when I was growing up was just Ricky Weeks, because I mean, you had the batting stance. I was a huge
Oh,
batting
yeah,
stance
absolutely.
guy, so don't have
Quickest
any
wrist.
numbers to back it up, but underrated in terms of just like names to know in baseball. Ricky Weeks for whoever.
Who needs numbers when you can go off vibes?
That-
He brought
and
good
that's why he's
vibes.
still in baseball. Vibes.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, he's Pat Murphy's right hand man right now too. He's bringing the vibes and a little bit of the mean to the
And
team.
retirement's
so-
been treating him well too. Well,
Yeah, it
treating
has.
him well.
That's awesome. All right, well, quick back into it. What's our favorite Brewer uniform of all time?
Ooh, I'm a sucker for the pinstripes.
I was gonna say the same.
So if you're also saying pinstripes, I want them to bring back the all baby blue uniform. I like the City Connect baby blue, but I feel like they could do more with it. And if they just add the pants baby blue as well, just kind of like an homage to like the 80s Brewers.
The ones they
I-
wore in 18 against the White Sox. If you remember that series.
Oh yeah.
Because those are the baby blues. They had the baby blue pants, elastic waistbands, all that. It was peak 80s.
Elastic waistbands.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They brought out all the stops. And the Sox were wearing their throwbacks, too, so it made it even better.
That's awesome. I think I have a Yount throwback of the baby blues that was a giveaway
Mhm.
during the summer that I was there.
Oh,
I would have worn it, but I mean, this Hawaiian collared shirt with the City Connect.
It's sick. That shirt is sick.
It's loose, it's flowing. I love it. But throwing you to the wolves for the next question, as Jacob is experiencing an earthquake. But this is something real specific for Brewers fans. This is something I did not know going into the summer.
all right. I'm back.
But what are we thinking about our seventh inning stretch versus Roll Out the Barrels song? I need to know, and I need to hear more opinions on this.
I'll go first. I am a little biased. So I'd say the seventh inning stretch, just because that was like my favorite song. Take Me Out to the Ball Game was my favorite song as a child. But you cannot go wrong with Rolling Out the Barrel because that is such a Wisconsin staple. Like you see it at Packers games, you see it at Badger games, you see it all over the state. Paying homage. But for me, I'm gonna go seventh inning stretch. Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
All right. What about you, Jake? You got a preference either way?
I honestly, I feel like it's all part of one big seventh inning stretch. I just feel like the Take Me Out to the Ball game is a classic, but then it just adds to the vibe of Roll Me Out, roll out the barrel. Like, it is just I just feel like the Brewers do it better than some other franchises. I visited Toronto, and their seventh inning song they paired "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," little weird, but everyone has their own niche thing. So
No, I loved the Barrel. That Barrelman was a complete surprise. Like, nobody even let me know. I had zero clue it was coming in the seventh inning. I was standing out there, and they start playing this other random song, and I've seen the mascot around. I just wasn't sure, so I had to get a hat to commemorate it. It's hanging above me right now.
oh, it is an absolute banger of a logo.
But I needed something that I could wear to honor the Brewers and wear around in LA where people wouldn't just automatically recognize, like, oh my gosh, why is he wearing a Brewer hat? So it was perfect for that.
Love that.
But last question for you guys. Who's your favorite racing sausage?
Chorizo.
Yup.
Yes.
That dude never wins. So when he does, it makes it 10 times more special.
Absolutely.
Well,
there's a reason why.
Wins. Oh.
There's a reason why. His hat is just so heavy. Like, I coach baseball at a high school, and one of our kids who played for us was one of the racing sausages during, like, this past year, and he won on July 4th. He did tell me that, but congratulations to him. But yeah, he just said how horrible it is to run in the chorizo costume, and like it was an absolute like highlight for him to win in that costume.
Fun fact, when I was in the 3rd grade, my mom, she made all of my costumes growing up. She made me the chorizo costume, and I rocked that.
That is amazing.
Wow.
I can attest to it. It's not the same thing, obviously, but that thing was heavy.
It's pretty close.
Yes, it was very close.
And it's statistically accurate. The chorizo, all-time out of the brats, least amount of wins, 13 total. The most, the Italian sausage with 19. Props to that guy. He runs his ass off every game. But yeah, part of the gig about being an intern was that they tried to get you to do this, which not tried, most people did. But I had, was pitching, and I may have milked a little bit of a knee injury to not have to do it. But looking back on it, I regret that so much. Like, why? I don't know what I was scared of. I think probably just falling over and embarrassing.
You could have ended up like John Boy.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yep.
Yep. It would have been an amazing video. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, obviously, but
Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, thank you guys for participating in the quick hitters with me. I'm sure
Yeah,
our
of
Countdown
course.
fans know so much more about the Brewers now. But let's dive right back into the team because 2024/2025 offseason, not a lot's been going on for the Brewers, I got to say. I think the biggest thing was that they're trading people away. So for you guys, what have been, the major hitting points for this offseason before we kind of get into how this team is shaped up currently?
I mean, classic Brewers fashion, they are just going to try and replace Adames by aggregate. I hope they move Ortiz to shortstop. I do not want Turang away from second. And then third base is just an open book right now, which if opening day was tomorrow, it'd probably be Ali Dunn at third base. Which I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Could be talked into it. And then they ship off Devin Williams to New York, to the Yankees, for Caleb Durbin and Nestor. I am extremely high on Nestor. Chris Hook's going to get his hands on him. He's going to get him in the pitching lab starting, Thursday? Not so high on Durbin. If he's our opening day third baseman, I'm not going to be happy about that just because I think he's a Sal Frelick 2.0. But I still think this team wins 90 games. Is that ridiculous to say? Jacob, I want to hear your opinions.
I do not think that is ridiculous to say. You hit the nail right on the head. I want Ortiz penciled in at short to start the season. Love Bryce Turang. He did win the Platinum Glove this past season. So best defender in the NL. You don't want to move him off that spot. He's an elite defender where he's at, below average arm, so second base is the absolute perfect spot for him. Joey Ortiz, he flashed the leather a little bit last year. He has a plus arm as well, and you could see the range at third base. Last year with him and Adames on the left side of the infield, it was basically like having two shortstops on one side. So they were able to cover a lot of ground. And then the other thing you covered, the Devin Williams trade, I feel like people will kind of say that was a kind of a salary dump in a way of not wanting to pay their players, where I see it as them trading from a position of strength. Their bullpen has just so many guys that they are able to make that type of trade. Trevor McGill, he can be your closer for the year, and they have guys in the minors that are ready to make that step forward and come and contribute on top of the arms that they already have for that bullpen this coming season.
Yeah, I love that analysis. My biggest thing on the pitching is that the bullpen is where I'd start because that's, I think, their biggest strength as a team right now. It seems like even if Tyler, Trevor, whatever McGill he is, dang it, whatever McGill is back there in the bullpen, they could go closer by committee and have an arm
easily.
It seems like the Brewers are just, they've turned themselves into one of these organizations that's known for being able to produce those back end of the bullpen guys. To bring it back to the lineup, you guys mentioned it. The weakest spot is that left side of the infield. I'm looking at Fangraphs right now, off to my right here. Joey Ortiz and Oliver Dunn set to be the starting left side of the infield, and that's hurting for me because I really love the rest of the lineup. I do agree with you guys. I think this can definitely be a 90-win club, especially in the NL Central, especially after what we saw in the MLB last year, with just how evenly the league went. And one of the things I love about this lineup, one guy I really wanted to touch on, is Garrett Mitchell. This is my guy, and I cannot wait to see him on the field for one whole 162-game season. That is my prayer for the Brewers, is that he can stay healthy for the entire year because, oh my gosh, the tools, the eye test. He's a UCLA alum, so I got to see him in college, man. This dude has been legit for a long time. 95th percentile in sprint speed. Didn't record enough games to qualify, but would have been in the 90th plus percentile in bat speed and chase percentage. So, I mean, this is – and Fangraphs has him in the 4-hole. So my one thing about this lineup, I feel like you would maybe need a guy that's not Garrett Mitchell or William Contreras to be, your guy in the 3/4 hole. But, dude, if he's on the field for a whole 162-game season – I could see him very comfortably slotting into that, 2 through 6 range every day, even as a left-handed hitter.
Yeah, I see him kind of in that 5th spot for me personally right now. I kind of see him in that spot. He's very, very good. He does have one glaring hole in his swing. It is right above the belly button. Anything up and it is still in the strike zone, he just cannot touch it. His main issue, he just can't follow it off. But I did see, I think he was at Driveline.
Yep, I was just
he was at Driveline, and that was a hole that they were attempting to patch. If he can find a way to even semi-patch that hole and be a threat at the top of the strike zone, I think you hit the nail on the head, Connor. Like, the sky is the limit for him. He is a tools galore, and like you, all Brewers fans are praying he needs to stay healthy.
I'd love to see that. Yeah. Any other touching points on the batting lineup or starting rotation you guys want to touch on? I know I love the outfield depth. I think, it's obviously a plus when you're able to have Yelich in the DH role or moving a guy like Frelick or Blake Perkins or Chourio, just getting them a day off their legs. The outfield depth is great. But this infield, man, it's like, is Rhys Hoskins going to be able to be what you really wanted him to be last year? He had a career low in WAR, even though he only played 41 games in 2020. He had less WAR than in that season, so pretty incredible, even after a full year of 26 bombs. But, yeah, what are kind of the last few thoughts you guys got on this lineup?
I think an underrated part that people might want to pay attention to in spring training is where does Sal Frelick play? Because somewhere that he was working before Garrett got hurt last season in spring training is he got work done at third base. So that might be one of your I can see Cal roll in his eyes. I would not. That is an absolute contingency plan if Oliver Dunn goes out in spring training and strikes out at a 60% clip or however.
Which he has problems of.
You are right about that. But I just feel like that's a storyline of where do you put Sal Frelick because of the galore of outfielders and kind of navigating Yelich's back injury too. I feel like that is something that will have to be a part of the season as well.
Definitely. You guys mentioned Oliver Dunn. That was a name. Not watched all of the Brewers baseball last year and then looking at this Fangraphs, I was saying, who the hell is this guy? I've never heard this name, so obviously did some research. Homegrown Brewers guy, but dude, 5 seasons in the minor leagues, and he's got a 248 career average. And this is the guy that you're going to rely on to be your everyday third baseman? Yes, there's other numbers I could bring up, like the 813 OPS in those 5 MLB or MILB seasons, but still, like, if this is the dude going into opening day, that's really hard to get excited for. But on the other hand, Cal, you said you were low on Caleb Durbin. I'm a little bit higher on him. After just doing a little bit of research, I think this can definitely be a guy that has a high ceiling. We can maybe get into a real comp later, but I think that's a good return for, like you said, Jacob, selling in a position of strength with Devin Williams because, yeah, this bullpen is stacked. Devin Williams, Brewers' typical fashion, hey, we got to get him out while he's good value. Durbin, I would love to see him in the bigs in 2025. I know he's got a heavy pull approach, and that's just kind of what my eyes are saying when I'm watching his film. But I don't know, man. The tools are crazy on speed, raw power, hitting, and it seems like he should be able to hold his own fielding. So if he can be the answer at one of those left side of the infield spots, I think that puts the Brewers in a really good position to start moving other guys around and keeping those outfielders right where you want them, Cal.
My issue with it is, if he's eventually going to be a third baseman for us, can he hit 20 to 25 home runs in a year? No. And I want our third baseman hitting 20 to 25 home runs a year, which I think he is nowhere near capable of doing that.
He kind of has that like second baseman ceiling. That's kind of the give and take of what the Brewers are looking for. Like Sal Frelick, he's basically like, if you look at like pound for pound metrics, bat speed, and all that stuff. I know Durbin has a little bit more than Sal Frelick, but with Durbin, it'll be interesting to see what he brings and what kind of adjustments the Brewers might make with him coming into spring training.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think the other big story going into spring training for me is, how does Brandon Woodruff look? I know we touched on the pitching a little bit. I think the starting pitching is just going to have to navigate, by committee again. Bullpen's going to be worked heavily, and Brandon Woodruff coming back could be a big part in why this team is able to stay up towards that 90-win clip if he's able to come in and make an impact, because I remember how dominant he was. Funny little story, while I was interning, he had a bobblehead day. This is while he was injured, too. So had his bobblehead day. And on bobblehead days, as an intern for the stadium ops, you have to go set all of them up by the doors and also take all of them away afterwards that haven't been given out, which usually isn't too many. But, they switch it to Saturdays, I believe, now. Before it was on Sundays, so you'd get a lot left over. And so, I'm stacking them down in the tunnel, stacking them, trying to put them away, and I hear, somebody's voice in the back. It's like, hey, can I get one? And I'm about to turn around and say, no, man, sorry, these got to all go into storage or get shipped off somewhere else. I turn around, it's Brandon Woodruff asking for his own bobblehead. I'm like, I turn around, I was like, no. It's like I was kind of frozen.
Yeah, you really can't say no there.
Well, it's like, you're also not supposed to talk to the players, so I'm like, you probably, yeah. So, I was like trying to. That was probably a situation where I could have given a normal response and not talk to the player, but yeah, crazy. I was like, dude, I'm pretty sure your wife, like in my head, I didn't say this. Pretty sure your wife came in and picked up like 50 of them, but yes, take one right now. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. But yeah. We were talking a little bit more about Durbin and the rest of the prospect pipeline for these Brewers. So that gets me into the next segment that I wanted to bring up with you guys, which is prospect comparisons. I think that's a really fun game, analysts like to play, which is just throwing a name out there of where you could see this player's ceiling. And hey, the Brewers are a team that has to do a lot of that type of analysis. And hey, they hit big, what we think, with Jackson Chourio. And hey, like if this is going to be the Brewers' bread and butter, they're going to have to be finding these guys earlier and earlier and earlier. So, yeah, wanted to start talking about some of these prospects. So I got a few names thrown out that I'll give to you guys, and then, yeah, we can talk a little bit over about what we think their ceiling, floor, MLB comps are. So, you guys ready for this?
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right. First name we got to get off the bat, Brewers' #1 top prospect at the end of 2024. He's a catcher, Jefferson Chourio. Or Jefferson Chourio, whichever twang you want to put on it. I don't know why this dude is a number one overall prospect, and I'd love for you guys to give me a little bit more insight because I did my own analysis and I got a comp for him, but I'd love to hear what you guys think.
I'm going to leave all the prospect analysis to Jay-Z because this man knows what he's doing a lot more than I do.
See, I feel like the thing with Cuero is he's a very high floor guy, especially at the catcher position. He frames the ball well, he throws the ball well, he blocks the ball well. I feel like Cal might remember this name with the Brewers, Manny Pino. I feel like that's a very solid comp for him. He has gap to gap power. Will pop probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 on a good year. But with him, it is all about the defense. That is why he is ranked so high. Coming into this year, he tore his labrum last year. I think after his first at-bat plate appearance, he was diving back into first base. So kind of fluky injury, and as a pitcher, Connor, shoulders can be kind of fluky and kind of weird. So coming into the season, I feel like Cuero is going to be in Nashville all season long, especially after Contreras wants to play as many games behind the plate, and then Eric Haas is also a very quality backup.
Yeah, my little research into Cuero is that barring that injury, he might have been an MLB roster spot on opening day for the Brewers this year. But yeah, injuries, big setbacks, like you said, the shoulder can always be tricky, so it's going to have to be, a real let's see what you got sort of deal for him, I think, now, because that defense, like you said, is probably going to be pretty consistently there. That was what I was reading on the scouting report of him, too, really praised for that MLB level readiness behind the dish. And he's got the decent pull side pop, so my MLB comp for him, and with my comps, I tried to go, it's like, what's the ceiling for him? And I think that's kind of a Gabby Moreno sort of guy, what we see out in Arizona, who's, very respected behind the dish, has only been getting better back there. Very good bat-to-ball skills, which I think maybe where this comparison shifts a little bit, because I think Cuero maybe has a little bit more of the pop side and the contact side, where Moreno's the other way around. But yeah, I think that's a ceiling for where he could be, and yeah, if he's able to come in, maybe there's a catcher injury and get some time in the MLB, it'd be nice to see what he can do as a guy who is labeled the number one overall prospect.
I don't think he'll be in the MLB in 2025 because he's still rehabbing that injury, correct, Jay-Z?
Yeah, he's coming into the season. I can almost guarantee he'll probably be in Nashville, barring Contreras. Please, God, no. Or Eric Haas, yeah.
You don't even have to put it out in the air. I'll cut you
off.
Right.
Thank you.
Only good vibes going to the Brewers backstop crew.
Only good vibes. But that's the only two contingencies if he'll make his Major League debut this season.
Beautiful. Well, the next name I want to throw out, another guy who was pretty high on the Brewers' top prospect list at the end of 2024, and that's Cooper Pratt. 6th-round pick in 2023. This dude plays a lot of shortstop, moved him around a little bit in the infield this last minor league season, but, 6'4", 195. Dude's got the tools. He raked in rookie ball and A ball. Struggled a little bit in high A where he ended up at the end of 2024. But what are you thinking, Jay-Z? What are we thinking for this player comp?
I feel like absolute ceiling would be Carlos Correa Jr.
Yes.
He plays tall. He has a decent arm. He has the pop if needed, but he's still really young. The Brewers got him for a steal in the 6th round. He was a 2nd-round talent, roughly. People thought he was going to go to Ole Miss, and the Brewers were able to sign him away. So they were able to get some good value out of him. He did have a little bit of time in Double-A last year in Biloxi, so he might see some time there to start the season, or if he goes back to A-ball in Appleton, I could see him, just depending on how his spring training goes, because he's a non-roster invite for this year, so the Brewers will be getting a lot of eyes on him. And for him to get that non-roster invite is very big for his development.
I love that. Correa was one of the names I threw on my list for player comps for him because, like you said, plays tall, good arm, good gap-to-gap power. Doesn't seem like the home run ball is going to be his forte, but it's going to be something he's got in the back pocket when he needs it in those clutch moments because he's that dude. But yeah, some of the other names I threw out were kind of a Bo Bichette, Dansby Swanson type, or maybe if he ends up towards that middle of the road. Cal just saw a ghost as soon as I said that. I did not.
If he turns out to be Bo Bichette, I'll be so mad.
The other one where I thought, hey, maybe this is the max ceiling was like a Corey Seager, because I think maybe if he grows that body a little bit more, the speed lessens a little bit, maybe he becomes just that dude who is able to put up 30, 40 homers a year because he's out there every day.
I mean,
just
prospects are such a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get with anyone.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's why I love this game, because who knows? You never know. Maybe
You really never know.
Like, oh
and
my
they're
God,
good, and the Dodgers just signed him.
Oh. But yeah, I love that. Next name, we're switching it over to the pitching side of things. I wanted to go with Jacob Misiorowski. This is one of the Brewers' top prospects. Hasn't seen the MLB yet, if I'm correct there. So yeah,
no, not yet.
Nashville is the highest he's been, but oh man, the tools, the film on this guy are unreal. I think he had the same sort of hype coming out of the draft, and yeah. So what are your thoughts, Jay-Z?
80 grade fastball.
80 grade fastball, 70 grade curveball, I think 60 grade slider, but he doesn't know where it's going. We're gonna be I'm gonna be honest here. He really doesn't know. If we want to go like absolute highest ceiling possible, if he figures out how to find the zone, I could see almost like a right-handed Randy Johnson. But then there's the other side of things where he could turn out to be what Josh Hader was, because originally Josh Hader was a starter in the minor leagues. And he had that same arm fatigue, which Misiorowski's had in the past. So that's why they converted Hader to a reliever. And in Nashville last year, all Misiorowski was doing was relieving with the hopes of possibly getting a roster spot for that playoff push. So I feel like that's the absolute ceiling on one side. And then the floor, it's hard for the floor not to be right-handed Josh Hader. Just because of the pure stuff and just all he needs is 2 pitches and he has 3.
Yeah, I love that comp. I wasn't really thinking along the lines of relievers, but hey, I'll always love throwing that out when you're talking about those wild prospects who maybe are ready to take that step to the MLB but haven't found the MLB level command yet. And as a pitcher, that's something I love watching because you think maybe some of it's mechanical, maybe it's in his head, but after watching Misiorowski's film, yeah, he's a lot of elbows and knees. He's all over the place. He's falling off the mound. So in my mind, yeah, you threw out Randy Johnson, Josh Hader. I think I love those comps. The other one in my mind, and I had actually seen it in a report, was Zach Wheeler. I think Zach Wheeler.
Oh, I like that.
A really good comp for Misiorowski. He had the 60, 80, whatever it is, grade fastball because the dude was throwing 100. But he just didn't quite know where it was, and now obviously as a stable veteran in Philly, he's been able to figure it out a little bit more. But also, just off the bare bones of Misiorowski on the mound, really reminded me of George Kirby, and that's purely more of a mechanical standpoint. And I mean, hey, if he's able to lock in the mechanics, why can't that be his feeling? Because if you know where the fastball's going every time for him, it's going to be a good day every day. So.
And he gets crazy extension down the mound too. Mm-hmm. He's 6'7", and he's getting like 7 feet of extension at you. It gets on you quick.
Yeah, and just makes the off-speed pitches even more deadly. So, but yeah, flipping it back over to the hitting side, it's the guy I really wanted to bring up. Who knows how you say his name, but Jesus made him pretty well, man. Jesus Made, dude. This man, 17 years old right now, will be 18, I guess, next year. But I mean, his ETA is 2028, but I had to bring him up because the film on him is crazy. Obviously, the potential is insane when you see a switch hitting 17-year-old at 6'1". So, what are we thinking over here, guys? Do we have?
I think he's currently on the Chourio path, the path that Chourio was on. I think Jacob would agree with that. Yep, I would not be surprised if the Brewers locked him up within the next 2 years. I think is a fair time range.
Get him while he's in his team.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
he would be the 1-1 in this year's draft. Like, that's how young he is. Like, he blows Ethan Holiday, at least at this point in time. It wouldn't even be a discussion. He's a switch hitting middle infielder that has the chance to move to third, but he was popping 109 for exit velocities as a 17-year-old. You don't see that, and it's with a wood bat too in the DSL. And all his underlying metrics, because I know people are kind of wary depending on DSL guys how they will pan out, because some guys will pop, some guys will not. but his chase rate is great. His strikeout percentage is awesome, and he walks a decent amount too, and he does it from both sides. With him, it's just you have to let him develop, and the ceiling's the limit. I don't know what the ceiling comp would be. Maybe if you would give Francisco Lindor Ronald Acuna's pop, I guess that would be kind of the best way to like describe where he's at this point. But that's his absolute ceiling, in my opinion.
I love that. Francisco Lindor was on my list, man, because, yeah, like you said, the reports are saying he's got a great eye, great discipline. He's got the pop, the natural pop, as you see from those extra hero numbers at such a young age. And, dude, he's got the arm to play shortstop, too, which is just another huge plus. Brewers are trying to get him as many reps as they can at the 6. And, yeah, it's like, hey, oh, well, if we need to move him to third, we're moving him to third. And that's just what we're taking out of him because – yeah, the bat is the big thing. And my other comp, now that you already threw out Lindor, is J-Ram. And I think, you know, the pop is comparable between both of those guys for sure, but the longevity of both of their careers, the way that they've been able to play defense and swing the bat for an extended period of time, definitely I think that could be his ideal ceiling. And like you said, he's able to add some Ronald Acuna Jr. prime pop into there. Oh my God!
Watch out!
You need to sign him now. If they have even an inkling that could be a possibility, they need to get him. They need to get him now. But yeah, last name I'll throw out at you. One of their more recent draft picks. This is Blake Burke. I wanted to talk about him because I was just recently in Tennessee this last summer, and they won it all. So there's a lot of hype over there, and the Brewers go out and grab their first baseman, a really integral part of their lineup through that championship run. 4-year guy at Tennessee, 3 quality seasons, 50 homers. So what are you guys expecting out of him? He's not really on the prospect lists yet, didn't get too many at-bats in rookie ball last year, but what are our expectations out of this 21-year-old, possibly more MLB ready?
Just a mash. Simple.
Yeah, he didn't get too many at-bats last year in the minors. I think they started him out in Appleton. So he struggled a little bit there, but it's a college guy coming over, a college hitter coming over to pro ball in a kind of a weird time. So I feel like he'll start back in Appleton, which is the Brewers' high A. He won't go down to the low A. So, and the Brewers love being aggressive with their guys too. So it's just they use that as their measuring stick, and I think he'll be really exciting to follow as the year goes on.
Yeah, I'm got high hopes for him because I think the Brewers are in a position where first base can be a position where they can try out a lot of guys. You know, obviously Rhys Hoskins is not the long-term solution. So, hey, whoever's ready to come up and play some first base, let's do it. And I'm not one of those people advocating for the fact that first base is an easy position to pick up because
it's incredibly hard.
I did play first base, Cal, as a lefty.
Thank you, Washington.
The transitions are not as easy as people make it seem. So I'm not saying anybody can just go over and play first base for the Brewers, but this is a guy whose forte is being over there at first base, making snags, just being the dude. He's a lefty, too. So it's born to be. I think if he is ready soon, I think it could be a Vinny Pasquantino sort of MLB comp. I don't know if the power is really towards that elite level first baseman sort of tier where I see that power, but Vinny Pasquantino, even him still, I feel like has a lot to show at the MLB level. But you know what everybody thinks he could be. I think Blake Burke along those same lines for sure. That kind of we'll wrap up the prospect comps right there. I like that. That was a good bunch of names. I like the comps we were throwing out there. It's high hopes for the Brewers, like we were saying. It's this whole episode. It's good vibes going to MKE.
Good vibes.
That's what the Brewers thrive on.
Exactly. You know, there's no money to blow it all on.
That's for sure.
But yes, we always finish our countdown episodes up with this. I give our fans a chance to air out their own teams if they want to, or maybe get even the most possibly optimistic they can and throw out the most random hot takes. But yes, this is the hot take segment for 2025. So what do you guys have to kind of wrap up our episode here and maybe give the countdown fans something to go on for the Brewers for next year?
Callie got one because I have two.
I already said they win 90-plus games. I don't know if that's a hot take at this point because that's just what they do. I want to say Ortiz, it's 20-plus home runs.
I like that.
I do too. I think if his neck's healthy, which we saw at the end of last year when it wasn't, his stance was completely changed after he messed up his neck. When he was healthy in that first half of the season, I don't remember exactly when he got hurt, but his stance looked good. He was driving the ball both sides of the field, and he had much more pop than he has when he was injured.
Love it. I love the optimistic take. You know, you can only hope for the best. And hey, especially out of your young guys, man, you never know when those breakouts are going to come. So, hey, you got a full healthy season in front of you where he's pretty much set to go ahead and be the starting shortstop, man. I got to imagine that's good for the ego going into spring training, feeling like you're the guy. So, hey, excited to see what he's able to pull off in 2025 for sure.
Absolutely.
Jay-Z, flipping it over to you.
All right. You know what? I'll go two. My first one is Jackson Chourio. He has the ability to go at least 25 home runs, stolen bases, with a possible popping 30 bombs if he gets a clip, because his second half was just unreal last year. And then this one's going to be my really aggressive one. I think William Contreras finishes second in MVP voting just because of Shohei. I think Contreras has the ceiling to pop 35 bombs this year and play stellar defense. And I feel like the Brewers are going to manage his innings behind the plate because that definitely hurt him as the year went on last year. So he has the ceiling to pop 35, maybe even 40 bombs this coming year while playing Gold Glove defense. So that's my hot, absolute scorching take. Is Will Bill having an absolute crazy year this year?
I like it. You know, my hot take was along the same lines, and I mentioned his name earlier. It's probably obvious how high I am on him. Garrett Mitchell sneaks his way to top 5 MVP voting, man. This dude played
wow.
Whoa, okay.
Wow.
He's top 5
Okay, I like
in
it.
the NL,
I like it.
100% in my mind. If
Wow.
he's able to do what he's capable of and stay on the field all year, that's my guy. So that's what I'm throwing out there to end it off. So you know I'll be keeping track of that one real.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. I like it.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, that pretty much concludes this episode of the Countdown. Thank you guys so much for coming on and talking Brewers with me. This is awesome. We're making our way through the teams this offseason. This is our, I believe, 10th team. So we're going to start ramping it up here pretty quickly because, hey, opening day is on the day we're recording this, just 44 days away. So it's coming up quick. I'm excited for baseball. Football is finally over.
Finally.
Madness will have its little chance of glory, and then, man, it's our time of the year, baby. It's baseball.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Connor.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was awesome.
It's got me amped up, ready for ball again.
Yeah, guys got their own podcast, too, so links will be down below in the description because, hey, we're supporting each other out here. We want to be able to talk baseball, talk sports on as many platforms as possible. So everybody go check out these guys' links. They'll be down in the description. And without further ado, that was the Countdown, episode number 12. Yeah, 12. We will see you next time.